Credited as the first openly transgender actor cast in a Marvel film, Spider-Man: Far From Home, Zach Barrick is here today, and he's talking all about the need for joyful transgender representation. This is Advocate Now. Zach, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I want to talk about your animated Netflix series, Dead End Paranormal Park, because you voiced the show's lead, Barney, a transgender teen boy, and your animated character gets to be a hero. Why is that rare or unique?
The humanizing of trans people starts with exposure and, having him be both the audience surrogate so that he's, the straight man and very accessible and relatable while also saving the day. Seeing him as a human and also a hero, and that is just what a lot of trans folks are. We haven't had that before, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, why do we need more trans youth storylines full of hope and joy?
Oh, because we have loads that aren't. We have loads and loads of tragic, angsty, what have you, and we haven't had this before. And also, it's a kid show. And I'll just say, as a kid, I didn't have this exposure. I didn't even know trans people existed. And if I did, it was like, oh, here's a 2020 or 60 Minutes episode or something, on this like freak, even if it wasn't said, it was implied. I think that was sort of the driving force in me to know how important this was.
How have you seen a change in how trans characters are portrayed in media, even since just the start of your own career?
So when I went into high school, I remember I wasn't even out as like queer at all, hardly at all. I didn't want to come out in terms of sexuality. And by the time I left, I wasn't even the only trans person I knew in my school. And I think that's also true for how I've seen television go. There's been a shift in how many trans people are on it, and we're so much so still working on what it looks like. And we started the wave, and the tipping point seems to have started around the time Laverne Cox was on Orange Is the New Black, and we've gotten further than just here's a trans person in jail. We've gotten to the point of what we're seeing in Dead End, what we're seeing in Wendell and Wild, which are just animated shows, but also in live action as well. Patty Harrison did a movie with Ed Helms, with playing a character that was, I believe, a cis woman who got pregnant. So I guess my point is just in different genres, in different areas, it's improved really well, and then in other areas it has not, because there is still so much. I had a friend the other day who was telling me about an audition they went out for, and they were like, yeah, I had 2 lines that were very sassy, and then I died, and I was a sex worker. And I was like, yep, par for the course, So we see a lot of a lot that aren't.
You've been on our screens as a trans actor in animation and action. What other types of storylines or genres are you hoping to see more transgender characters in?
Action. Sorry, like yelled. I wanna play like a dumb action boy, and that's only 20% because I think that's true about me, and it feels like accurate trans representation, but also because that's what everybody goes to see, and if this is about exposure, then like what better way than to throw us in tentpoles, to throw us in these huge productions that have like huge budgets and like show the value that we actually bring, right? Because so much work goes into what we do, and a lot of sacrifice sometimes, and we never get to have meaty, juicy roles, and some people have been doing this for years and years. and just like what I wouldn't give to watch some trans people like fight aliens or something, and have it be meaningful for reasons other than they're trans. Um, yeah.
When it comes to gender identity and wanting to see change in the world today, what else are you passionate about advocating for?
I'm a pretty huge mental health advocate in terms of, I'll just say, like, my personal experience with it. Um, I mean, intersectionality is really like an important conversation topic for a lot of reasons. But in my personal experience, like, gender identity really took a back burner in terms of where it felt like it was allowed to fit in my life, um, due to like my experiences with mental health and addiction. And um, yeah, and I think that is just such a, like, it's tale as old as time is. I felt like other my whole life. I felt like ostracized. I haven't had the words to explain it, and it's taken a toll on my brain.
Having come out as a boy in high school yourself, what advice would you give to young people contemplating their gender identity?
Yeah, um, I went to an all girls school. It doesn't matter what kind of bravado or intensity you live your life with when it comes to something that feels dangerous or new or scary, particularly something where all we're saying on TV is these people get killed. It can turn you into someone much smaller. It can make you feel real compact and like I don't want to explain all the beautiful parts of myself. And the reality is, I didn't start feeling better about that until I surrounded myself with trans people. I mean, everyone that lives in my apartment is trans. My upstairs neighbors, who we've gotten really close with, a couple of them are trans. Like, it just worked out that way, and I got very lucky. I got very lucky that I found all that, and I will admit that that can be really tough. It's not always handed to you like that, but it changed everything for me. My first year in college, meeting all those trans people, I was like, oh, we're gorgeous, we're wonderful, and I wouldn't trade this for anything, as opposed to thinking of it as this like plight I was gonna have for the rest of my life. Um, and this second part of it was seeing it on TV, because that is how I got the language I have for it. Um, so I think surrounding yourself with it so that you can start the journey with being reminded of like, oh my God, there's so many beautiful people in our community, you know?
What about for parents? I mean, do you have any advice for parents with kids who identify as transgender? Because it can be tough for parents to navigate.
Yeah. I think it's really beautiful and noble to oftentimes put uh, safety and the protectiveness and probably parental instincts that a lot of folks do, um, into action, and that's like really beautiful that we all want to protect the people in our lives that feel vulnerable. And in the same breath, I'd say, that looks so much different than what you think it does. You know, I think the biggest struggle people in my life generally had was, are you going to be able to be happy? Are you going to have access to the things you need medically? Are you going to be able to date? Will you have a career? And that's even before I told the people I loved that I wanted to go into acting, which probably they were like, well, are you kidding me? um, there's this other component now of, and I think the biggest thing that helped the people in my life was realizing, through seeing other trans folks, by exposing themselves, taking an active role in looking things up and watching things. I think that really helped.
Positive transgender representation and mental health, both really important topics. They don't get talked about enough. So we want to thank you so much for talking with us about all of this, Zach. And check out Zach and Dead End Paranormal Park on Netflix. Zach, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Sonia Baghdadi. Thanks for watching and advocating. For more stories and content like this, visit advocatechannel.com.